Hey, welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks Podcast, episode 140.
You just said you weren't going to say
140.
that.
I know.
You just said you weren't going to say.
Eh, I can't figure out if I'm coming or going. It's
You're so
episode
Pavlovian.
140, people. That's a
Yeah,
lot of stinking episodes.
that means we've been kicking. Yes, we're
Yeah.
doing this a long time.
But it's just Dave and I today, and we're gonna break down some of the early season racing. We're gonna blow up one of our sponsors, and I don't know. Let's see what else kind of comes up. Uh, Dave, how you doing, buddy?
I'm I'm doing good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I actually kind of was, I mean, we're recording now. It's 4:10. I
Yeah.
like getting this stuff done, but I didn't want to get up yesterday to this morning and get this done. So kind of cool with the afternoon right now.
Yeah, the
So,
lighting's
but
a lot better for me. It's not so bad. Like I usually get that blast of sun in my eyes, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, the afternoon
And it's a
sun's a
little
lot.
warmer in the house. I'm not freezing my ass off in here. So
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Well,
just me
man,
and you. So welcome back. You're in Hawaii.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Hawaii was mostly a work trip. And then I took 4 days. Stella came in and we
Oh,
spent
Stell came over.
like a long weekend, yeah, in
Oh,
Kona basically. So super nice. But man, I had a really good opportunity to finally climb Mauna Kea to the top. So I don't know if you
okay.
know, but the previous two times that I've tried to do it, I got turned around at the visitor center because it had these huge 75-mile-an-hour trade winds. And it's always super hard to read. You don't really know. I guess if I lived on the island, maybe I'd have a better read on it. But
But to be
anyway,
clear, Mike, to be clear,
yes.
if someone hadn't turned you around at the visitor center with 75-mile-an-hour wind, knowing you, you would have gone for it.
I
So
was going
thankfully,
for it. Yeah.
somebody turned you around.
I was actually kind of pissed that the guy turned me around. But
75 miles. Yeah.
it was
Houses
funny.
come off their foundations at
It,
75 miles an hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny because he was like sleeping in his truck.
Right.
And I went by him and I got by him. I thought I was clear. He had parked his truck like across the road. So like, if you were in a car, you couldn't get through.
Right.
I just kind of wiggled around the side, just kept going. I knew it was blowing hard. I had no idea it was 75. That might have been an exaggeration. I have no idea, but it was blowing. And then he honks his horn and then he gets out of the truck and like puts his hands up like, hey, you know,
Why do you think I'm here?
yeah. So
Yeah.
I
You're a
went
mind
back
reader.
and he let me have it pretty good, actually. He was pretty torqued off. But this time, I was out, and then the other time I just went to the visitor center and they said, yeah, nobody's allowed up there. And so this time I get to the visitor center and they
And
had me sign.
for those of
Oh,
us that don't talk about how far the visitor center, how much climbing have you done?
oh yeah. Thanks for bringing
How
that
long?
up because it's pretty relevant. Okay. So yeah,
Thank
the
you.
ride is from Waikoloa Beach up to 13,800 something feet. And this
Okay.
happens over 55 miles. So it's it's gnarly. When you leave Waikoloa, there's a little bit of kind of rolling, meandering, and then you hang this right and you go on this highway, and it's basically like 35 miles at 7% gradient. And
Real.
and it's a 4-lane highway. Cars are whizzing by. You got a huge, it's like 12 feet wide or something. I mean, it's a crazy wide bike lane,
Likely. Okay.
but you're working hard and it's like cars are going by. You don't feel like you're doing anything. And it's kind of demoralizing with these cars just whizzing by you, and you're just like, grinding away. But anyway, but then at some point you get up, you hang a left, and then it really starts getting pitchy. And, 20%, there's like 15, 18, 22.
Oh,
It's wild. Then you get to the visitor center, and at the visitor center, you're now at 9,800 feet. So you've done almost 10,000 feet. And I've
how
never
long is
been,
this pitchy? How long is this pitchy section? Like 19.
it's pretty good. I mean, I think from the road to the visitor center, I think is 13 miles, 14 miles.
Okay.
So you're
But you
going,
said it's 7%, then you make this left. How long is that? Because I want
yeah,
remind me, because I want to tell you about my experience with Del Porto Canyon. Well,
okay,
what they warned you, oh, here comes the steep part, right? So when you
yeah,
hang that left until you get to the visitor center, how long?
14 miles. Uh,
Oh, 14.
yeah.
Oh, so you're
So
literally cut, that thing is cut in half.
it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I didn't, well, okay, I don't want to spoil it, but okay.
Right.
So this is the first time at the visitor center where I had to sign a waiver. Each of the previous two times I couldn't go. One time I tried to sneak through, it didn't work. And then the other time they just told me nobody's allowed. So this time I get up there, the guy says, "Oh, you need to sign a waiver." I'm like, "Oh," and he says, "The little box over there." So I go over to the box, I fill it out. There's all these questions in there, you know, about, if you've been up at altitude before, this is the, and there is a sign, kind of an ominous sign down at the before, right as you turn off the highway, as you just start heading up towards the visitor center, there's a sign that says altitude sickness can be fatal. And so proceed with, there's no medical up here on the volcano, and proceed at your own risk.
Okay.
So I filled out the waiver, and so then you go over to the guy at the truck by the road. Again, you can't just drive up. You have to go to the visitor center first, and then you go around, then you got to negotiate, and then you go up. So I get to the guy, and then he gives me like this real stern talking to about these people that are crazy, that he says it's usually runners, hikers, and cyclists. You are the type of people that are the ones that die up here because you got to get to the top, and it's like the most important thing and all this other stuff. He says none of that matters. So I felt like he was speaking to my soul, Dave. So I'm just like, hey, man, I've tried this twice before. I don't get over here very often. I'm making it to the top, is what I'm thinking. I didn't say that. And he
Yeah.
says, here's what's going to happen. He says, first thing, you're going to get a little fuzzy. Everything's going to be fuzzy. Then you're going to be in slow motion.
These are signs of altitude sickness.
Correct. And he
Okay.
says, some people, that might be all you feel. And he says, if that's all that happens to you, you're in luck. Knock yourself out. He says,
Okay.
but if he says the moment you start to get a headache, you have to turn around. It's literally a matter of life and death. So he says, you can get a headache in a car. It's not a matter of life and death. But when you're in a bike or you're running, you're exerting yourself and you're getting that headache, that's oxygen to your brain. So,
Okay.
so anyway, so he scared the living crap out of me, basically. So it's his fault. No. So so anyway, so after all this road climbing to the visitor center, then it turns to gravel.
So I'm laughing though, because he goes, nothing else matters. And you're going, obviously you're not a cyclist.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. He
Okay.
clearly wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
Native Hawaiian guy. So but really nice guy though, But so I get past him, I get up, and then the road turns to gravel for
Oh, really?
2 miles is all.
Okay.
Two of the longest miles of your life, Dave. Anyway, so it's at like 11,000 feet, or no, it was just over 10,000 feet. I think it was like 10,400 feet. So it's not far after the visitor center, turns to gravel, 12% gradient in
Okay.
gravel. And uh, it's like pretty thick in some spots. So I'm going, and it's slow motion. I'm fuzzy. I'm looking down at my cycling computer. I'm going like 3 miles an
But you're
hour.
feeling this now.
Oh yeah.
You're feeling it. Okay.
Things have gone off the rails. I'm like, uh, you know, 5 miles seems like an eternity. So, and it's steep, 12%. But I go around this one corner and my front tire washes out, and I go to put my foot out. Again, everything's slow motion. I put my foot out, but it was so steep that the way I put my foot out, I didn't prop it in the right position, and then I fell backwards. Actually fell down.
Oh,
Felt so feeble. And it took me so long to get up off the ground, grab my bike, lift my bike up, and then throw my leg over. I mean, it was hilarious. I actually laughed out loud because it was so
Right.
feeble, you know?
Right.
So, but I got back on, and it took me a couple tries to get going because it was so loose and it's 12% and I'm tired and I can't breathe and all the other things. But I got going, and then I'm thinking, okay, I just got to get to the road. Just get to the road. Once I get to the road, I'm going to be fine. So I get to the road. I finally get to the road, and 26% grade is what my computer said. And now there's headwinds. I'm riding into this headwind on a 26% gradient. And I mean, my computer was going like to 0 to 1.5 to 0 to 1.5. Like I was barely moving.
Okay.
And I'm just gritting my teeth, fighting through it. And then I get to the top of that thing, and it kind of levels out to about 12, you know, 12%, which
Good
feels
now, yeah.
great. Feels
Yeah.
great. 12% into a headwind at that point feels
Right.
great. I'm doing like 3.5 miles an hour now. And everything, like I said, everything's just so foggy. And I just start to feel a little something on my right eye. Like my right eye just starts bugging me. And so all of a sudden, and now all I can think about is my right eye. My right eye is just really bugging me. And then, and then it just started pounding on the right side.
The head.
And it was at 12,400 feet. And I got off my bike, take a picture, and and the and I just turned around. But the other thing that kind of did me in, because it was 12,004, it's only 13,800 to the top,
Yeah.
I was almost there. But
Mhm.
as I'm where I finally decide I got to turn around, I look up to the right and I could see this road that goes back this way, 20+% for way longer than the 26% I just did. Now it was
Yeah.
going with the wind, so maybe it wouldn't have been as, but
It's still
it
26%.
was, and I just, there's just a whole bunch of factors that led to me making that decision. But the crazy thing is, by the time I hit the gravel again, wasn't very far. My headache was gone.
So that little different, now you start to descend, you're not exerting yourself, and boom, the headache's gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I was still feeling really slow and lethargic, and the gravel was challenging because it's 12%. You're tired. I've got at
Yeah.
this point, I think I had 6 hours on the bike,
Right.
so pretty tired, and it's super bumpy. There's all those brake bumps, and I'm
Yeah.
just like hanging on for dear life, and I'm you know and then it went to the road, and then once I hit the road, ooh boy, man, that was nice. And it was like none of these increasing radius corners like we have on Diablo or anything. It
Right.
was just
Right.
like these big, flowing, sweeping, wide turns where you could see way ahead. And yeah, I was in full super tuck. But
Okay.
so 6 hours, 3.5 hours of descending.
Really? See, I get bored. That, oh my God, that's a shit.
Well,
Three.
yeah, I shouldn't say all descending, because when you're climbing, on the whole time you're climbing, you feel like I've been climbing this entire time. But there are actually sections where it lets off. And so there's a
Okay.
section at the top highway before you make that turn onto Mauna Kea where it's actually a descent. So when I turned onto Mauna Kea, or on that highway rather, on the way home, it was like 14 miles of uphill, slow,
Okay.
like maybe 3 to 6% gradient, but a headwind. So
Yeah.
but anyway, the ride home from 6, whatever I was up there, the whole thing was 9.5 hours. And there's a section where it rained so hard, and and I'm on that highway going like 45 miles an hour,
Yeah.
just, just hanging on for dear life. And it's just rain. It was crazy.
Okay. So I lots of questions here. So it's
Yeah.
pissing rain. How warm was it? What was the temperature?
I didn't get cold at all. The
Okay.
whole ride, I wore just bibs, and a jersey and a rain jacket, a
Okay.
light, thin, waterproof rain jacket. And the rain jacket was on at the beginning of the ride. Oh no, excuse me. When I took off, it was in my pocket. And then when I hit about 8,000 feet, it started getting like it was raining and weird, windy, cold. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to get too cold, so I just stuck the jacket on, but I just left it unzipped pretty much the whole ride.
Okay.
Except on the
So
way back when I was raining, then I zipped it up, of course.
you did answer one question because uh I told you I was riding with Peter Brisboe, which means
Yes.
nothing to our, and he's like, you know, he goes, how did he crash going uphill?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, and I'm like, I don't know. But
Mhm.
now fog, slow motion now, because he was like, he said he made it about that far as well, but he said he was just too tired.
Oh,
Like
okay.
he just said, I just can't go anymore.
Right. Well, see,
But you
that was part
crashed.
of it. I was feeling that for sure. I think it's just the oxygen, though. You're just not
Yeah,
getting enough air. And I was, like I said, it was just embarrassing how feeble I was. I couldn't. I mean, you talk about power numbers. I mean, there were no power. I mean, I didn't have it wasn't my bike, so there was no power meter. But I mean, the power numbers would have been just laughable because you just, like I said, everything's slow motion. It's like your head, you're just in a fog,
yeah,
and it just,
yeah.
like you're just punching and nothing's happening, and it's just really strange.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what movie was it? I think An Officer and a Gentleman, where they did kind of an oxygen deprivation thing, and they tried to get these guys to play like slap each other's hands or deal cards, and they just couldn't do it. I
Yeah.
have this vision of you trying to pedal, and it's like, you know,
Yeah.
where are there? You're doing this. Are there other nutcases out there doing the same thing? Did you see other cyclists, other runners?
I didn't see a single cyclist. I did on the Mauna Kea part. On
Okay.
the Daniel K, I don't know the name of it. I don't want to even try to pronounce it, but the Daniel K Highway, we'll call it. Uh, I did see a guy, uh, and I said, "Hey, you going up to the top?" He's like, "Oh, hell no, I'm just about done." And I mean, I was only like maybe 3,500 feet at that point.
Yeah.
But he was like, he was on his own bike. Uh, you know, he he had a problem with a tire. I stopped it. We chatted for a second, and then, but in my head, I had this idea, because Phil Guyman, former guest of the show and sponsor of the show, Phil's Cookies. Phil had just he had the KOM. Somebody went over there and got it, and then he just went back and got it again. And so I knew I saw that he had.
Oh, that's the one he was doing it on. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay, got it.
So I saw that
Right.
he had just done it, and I thought, okay, well, I mean, I'm not delusional. I know there's no chance in hell I'm even close to Phil Guyman, but I thought this would be interesting just to, as a full blown test, just to, because we don't climb the same roads as Phil. So you have
Right.
no idea what his times are. Obviously, they're world class, but anyway, it's just a chance to kind of see where you sit next to a world class climber. And so that's the approach I took as I started off, and I was I mean I was really going hard at the beginning. I mean I was on a mission kind of, and then that guy had that problem, and I felt like, okay, I should stop here just
Yeah.
because whatever, it's not that important, and there's no chance in hell I'm going to match Phil Guyman anyway. So I
Right.
stopped and chatted this guy up a little bit, and then he was turning around, and then I kept going, but so Phil did the whole thing in 4 hours and 59 minutes. I hit the visitor center at 4:30, and I never
So,
got to the top, so I have no idea. But from the visitor center to 12.5, so that's 2,500 feet, let's say 2,700 feet. Took me an hour, what, an hour and a half.
okay. So now we gonna keep talking. We're never gonna get to anything else. So now I'm filled with questions, right?
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
what? No, this is good because what? What is it? I mean, he's Phil Guyman. Let's say it. He's Phil Guyman. This is what he does for a living. But
Yeah.
why do you think he can get through that altitude sickness and you couldn't? Is it just because it's the first time you did it?
Well,
Is it, I
the
mean, because
guy
you
at the
certainly have the aerobic capacity,
yeah, that
right?
I do. I feel like I do, but the guy at the ranger station, he said it's different for everybody. He's like, it's not like a marker. He says some people are better at handling altitude than others. It's just what it is. And then I was talking to somebody else about it, and they said, yeah, if you were training like at 6,000 feet, you know, but he says, to come from sea level and to go do that, that's a big challenge. But that's what Phil did, But like I said, I'm not delusional. I'm not Phil Guyman, but
Right.
um,
Right.
so, but it was just kind of disappointing because I would have really liked to just kind of see, I
Mhm.
guess I could go to the visitor. I don't know. Actually, see what the times. I didn't even look at the Strava.
See if there's a segment. Yeah, to see
Yeah,
a
maybe there's a
visitor
segment
center.
to the visitor center. That would be a good. I mean, that's still a. I mean, that's a 10,000 foot climb basically. So that should give me an idea without getting into the altitude weirdness.
Okay, so now you're descending.
Yeah.
Did you stop at the visitor center and say to the guy, "You're right"?
Yeah, they actually you have to stop because
Okay.
they keep your waiver and they want you to
Oh,
sign out because
okay.
they
Maybe,
don't want
yeah.
to send out a search party if you're. So yeah, I came back and I talked to the guy and he was laughing. He gave me a hug. He's like, "Don't beat yourself up, man." He's like, "So many try, very few make it." He's like, "This is
Yeah.
what it is." And yeah, so anyway, it was cool. It was a great experience and a great ride. And even the ride down,
Yeah.
I mean, it's straight. 7% just straight down this thing with the rain and everything. But even though I didn't make it, I still felt like I didn't feel I posted it, it was a fail. I didn't feel like that. It was a
I
great
don't
day
think
on the
so.
bike
I
and
don't think so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I came into Waikoloa at the beach there, it was just like, oh man, yeah, what
Yeah.
a freaking
No, I
day
don't think
that
that's a
was.
failure at all.
Yeah.
Um, Question, and this is where I start to geek out, but I think maybe our listeners would appreciate this too.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else decides that they're going to go do this,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
26%. So what bike are you on? What's your gear? Like, you're on
Oh,
a gravel bike? What
yeah.
what's the gearing? What's the gearing? Because there's a hill right over here. You've made it
Mm-hmm.
right behind the house
Oh,
here.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that one there, and that pitches to 28%. It's not for very long, but that
Right.
pitches to 28%. And that was a banger on my little gravel bike. So I mean, that certainly I couldn't have sustained it for much longer than I did on this one. So
Right. It was a Revolt Advanced 2. So it was a gravel bike, had a 2 by setup. Honestly, I mean, I think it could have used a little bit more gearing because
what the
of the
cassette was in
challenges
the
at the
back.
top,
Yeah.
And it had 40s on it, so it had some
Okay.
nice wide tires on it, and I feel like those really helped out on the. I mean, obviously they hurt on the road, but they helped out on the gravel. Um, but yeah, you should have uh the easiest gear set if you yeah, the easiest gear set you can get would be my advice. And my Revolt is a 1 by with a 40 and a 52. That would have been better than what I had with that
Okay.
2 by, but anyway, it's
I
it's
think I
going to
only
be
have a
hard no matter
36.
what gearing you have.
Yeah. I only have a 36 in the back, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
so
That's
that
what
I
the
know that.
Revolt had. It had
Yeah.
the double up front and a 36 in the rear.
Fuck, yeah.
So, not quite. Not quite. I mean, I was able to get it done, but yeah, it was hard. There were times
Yeah.
where I wish I could have gotten a little bit extra gearing, especially that 26% with the headwind. That was
Brutal.
insane,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Brutal.
yeah.
Wow.
But
That's all that Zwift climbing portal. That prepped you for it, man.
yeah, yep, no doubt. That thing is well, yeah, we're gonna get on a sidetrack here, but yeah, that Swift climbing portal, that Tour Malay, that's the Pyrenees. We didn't when Bo and I did our trip, we didn't get to the Pyrenees. because the weather and
Right.
the
Yeah, you
Tourmalet
bailed
was the
on it.
big ride that we wanted to do, of course, you know. So yeah, it's pretty cool that they have that in there in the climbing portal.
Yeah.
And
I haven't been in. We talked about it a long time ago, but I signed up for one of these plans that they have on there, and I'm 5 weeks into, yeah, I'm 5 weeks into a 6 week plan. So
mhm.
I've been sticking to it kind of religiously, but it is tough because I'm doing one of my intervals and I go by and you go by the entrance to the climbing portal and I'm like,
Yeah.
so
Well, they
I haven't really been climbing much at all just because this is all just FTP work.
oh,
So
okay. Yeah. They change it up every few days. So it's not like you can just always go to Tourmalet.
yeah,
And have you seen the portal where they have four different choices? So you could do 50% of Tourmalet, 75, 100, or 125.
yeah,
So you just
yeah.
select what you want to do and just go to town. It's pretty cool. Yeah, hopefully I
So
get to do
so
the real thing one day.
so my climbing story, not nearly as eventful, but
Eh,
uh kind of on this idea of doing a century a century a month, right? Just so
okay.
that just so that if I sign up for a gravel event, like I'm not all of a sudden, oh shit, I got to train, right? If I've been just consistently doing these things like 50 miles, 60 miles on a weekend, and once a month, bang out 100, great.
Yep.
One group I'm riding with has decided that in April they're going to do Del Puerto Canyon, right?
Yeah.
Well, 2 weeks ago, another group says, "Hey, Dave, you want to go do Del Puerto Canyon?" And it's tax season. Is Sue's working? So the only one that misses me is the cat, right? So no one's
Hmm.
home. I got no time constraints. I'm like, yeah, sign me up. So you've climbed Del Puerto, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but we're doing it from here. We left from Livermore. Okay, so so this is round trip. It's going to be 105 miles.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
our little thing.
How'd you get out
And
there?
well, this is part of the story. So we go out uh, to Coral Hollow,
Coral
right?
Hollow. Yep.
Yeah, and at the top of Coral Hollow, I looked down and we climbed 1,100 feet. So we took Tesla right to Coral
Yep.
Hollow down. We descend down and we're heading to Patterson. All right. So we're going to go into Patterson, which is right before Del Puerto Canyon.
Yep.
And so 1,100 feet, we descend down. We hit Patterson now. So that was 10 miles. So when we got to the top of Coral Hollow,
Okay.
we get into Patterson, we're at like 51 miles.
Sounds about right. Yep.
1,200 feet of climbing or
Yep.
1,300. So
Mostly down the whole way.
in 40 miles, we gained another 200 feet of elevation on
Yeah.
these long, straight roads. And there's nothing out there. So there's no break. So for 40 miles, at one point, I just looked at the guy that organizes. I said, just tell me there's a town out here somewhere. Right. Just God. I mean, because we were in this one fixed position, like my hands
Yep.
and feet were going numb. My hands and feet never go numb, right? My
Yep.
body was hurting, I mean, everything. So anyway, so the next group, I told the next group about it, and they're kind of like, "Well, way to rain on our parade." But I'm like, guys, you just got to prepare yourself that Puerto Canyon is beautiful,
It is.
and they definitely I think the people who had done it were kind of like, oh, then it gets really steep. I don't think it ever got super steep. I mean, it was a short
Right.
section
Yep.
where, for the most part, but it only hard in that it happens deep into the ride, but
Yeah.
there's nothing like killer about it.
Right.
But it's beautiful. That part of the trip is great,
Yeah.
but getting there, it's like
Yeah. It's cool.
just
It's cool back in there. I really
yeah,
like it back there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was cracking up.
But everybody talks
Uh,
about the wall, and it's like I just kept waiting for the wall. And I remember I went with these guys from Modesto, and I go, "Well, where's the wall?" He goes, "You just did it." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Not like wall at Morgan Territory or the wall on
No,
Diablo. It's not like that,
no, no. And
Yeah.
that, it can be tough. And as I said, the reason I think it was
Sure.
tough was it's so deep into the ride that you hit that thing.
Right.
But like I I kind of got we stopped at the junction. And so what'd you think? I go, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
my time is I'm certainly got I didn't have any KOM on there, but I go, part of it because you don't know how long it is, so you're pacing yourself. And I go, I didn't think it was
Right.
really that hard.
Did you
So
get the tough wind coming down mines?
we flew down mines. We flew.
Oh, that's the
No, we hadn't.
best.
Oh yeah. Because
Man.
well, that was the thing. Like someone goes, how the fuck did you guys average 18 miles an hour, on a 105-mile ride? And I'm like, well, number one, there's 8 of us, right? So we're all the way into Patterson at 22 to 23.
Yep.
Then yeah, you suck it up, but then Mines Road, man, we were just smoking,
Right.
like just smoking coming down that thing, and it's just like almost to the point where there are times when at those speeds, I know you don't feel it, but I'm uncomfortable because you got 6 guys going around one of those
Oh
curves
yeah.
in
Yeah.
a
Some of
single
those,
lane, and
right.
you're counting on the guy in the front,
Yeah.
and all it's going to take is one car to swing wide on a single lane road. So I wasn't necessarily in my element, but yeah, we got down there pretty damn quick.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Well,
but
that's cool. A lot of times you get that afternoon wind coming back on mines. So like usually going out in the morning, you get like a good tailwind.
yeah.
Like on the Hamilton rides when you go out and back,
Hmm.
sometimes you get stuck in this terrible headwind the whole way back.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking about it. But
There was a
yeah,
wind. I didn't feel it, and I don't think
oh, that's
anyone
good.
did. So
Are you going
yeah,
to do it again in April?
no, no.
All right.
That would be like I wouldn't be immediate. If someone wanted to, if I wanted to Uber out there and just do the climb, it'd be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I wouldn't. I'll do it again next year, but I'm not going to make this not a regular thing. So
Yeah. Well, all right. Okay. So that's the personal
enough
shit.
about us.
Yeah, let's get into this the cast of characters we have on the world tour stage right now and the way this early season's shaping up. I mean, it's been so much fun. And I really I really like what Pagasha brings to the table beyond the writing. Just his general spirit and sportsmanship. It's 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 pretty unusual. And I think it should be celebrated. And I saw the move and Lance was kind of throwing shade on it a little bit, saying these guys are just different now and they don't want, it was a little bit of uh
What did you mention this before? What did he say? Because I'm curious, and I'm a Lance fan. I'm going to say it, but go on.
yeah, me
What did he
too. Me
say?
too. He just had I just saw a soundbite and he just had a take on it that the guys now are just different and they're not as hard or what the implication was they were not as hard. I don't remember exactly word for word, but it was kind of like this implication that the guys are just soft now or don't they're not as big a competitors as they were back in the day, which I disagree
It's not
because look
making
at
any
what we're
sense.
seeing each week
Yeah.
with these classic events and these dramatic finishes that are they're leaving everything out there. And it's okay to be a fierce competitor and also be a good guy at the end of it. And like
Yeah.
that San Remo podium with Tadej congratulating Michael and Jasper and just being genuinely happy for their success, even though it came at he's going to win plenty, and he already
Yeah.
has, and he's going to continue. And who knows, maybe he wins the tour. We don't know. But that guy's got a lot of
That's why
wins.
I'm grappling with it. I'm grappling with what you're saying, what he said, because he's on record as saying he wants to be the best ever, right?
Yes.
And he certainly, and then again, huge Lance fan, but look at all the different stuff he's winning. He's winning classics, he's winning
Yeah.
tours. So he is potentially he has a chance to possibly be the best. And yet, so you can't tell me he's not hard, right? And he doesn't
Right.
work hard and he doesn't leave it all out there. You can't, I just don't see how you say that. And then the fact that if he does get pipped, he's the first guy to turn around and shake somebody's hand, or
Yeah,
even like we were just talking about the Volta Catalonia, right?
yeah,
There's this thing on social media about him holding up the camera, taking, a picture of him and the two other guys on the podium, and he's taking a
right,
picture, and they're all
right.
smiling. I'm just struggling with it.
I feel
So
like he's got it all figured out.
yeah,
He's a bad dude on a bike, and he's also one of the nicest guys. And I mean,
yeah,
how can you hate on that?
I don't know. I don't know.
The but let's talk about that San Remo finish because the I mean, it just gets down to the wire. It's Michael Matthews, Jasper, and Tadej. And now remember, I do work for Giant, okay? And Michael Matthews he rides a Giant. He's on our Jayco Alula team. So I
And he's
might be
riding a
guilty.
Propel, which I'm going to say is the best
Yeah,
bike ever, but
the
go on.
Propel, the same bike I ride. I mean, I'm a little bit of a homer in that regard, but this came down to like literally like an inch difference between Jasper and Matthews. And during the sprint, I don't know if you saw it, but Michael Matthews' glasses fall off his face, and then they didn't just fall straight to the ground; they hit his legs, and they bounced up and then flew off. And I don't care how focused you are or how you know that's gonna
You take
make you
pause.
just
Yeah,
uh, the split second is all
yeah.
it would take in that kind of situation with the kind of power those guys are throwing down in that given moment. I think Michael had it if the glasses stayed on. I'm going to call it glasses gate.
Look,
Yeah.
we were talking earlier. I got to tell you that that finish was on every replay. It was on every social media thing. And I watched it and I watched it. I never saw the glasses come off, but
Oh,
I have to concur. It doesn't matter if you're going, you're going, you're going. For that one split second it takes to come off. First of all, that must have been a distraction as it's slowly coming off, and
yeah.
then it drops and it hits you in the leg. There's no question. I'm not taking anything away from the winner, but yeah, it's very reasonable and especially when it comes down to just that little difference. And that's
Yeah.
fucking insane anyways. Milan San Remo's what? How many K?
I
200.
don't know. Yeah, it's a crazy long one.
Can you
I don't
even
know. I
imagine
don't
it
know the
comes
exact
down to
distance.
that much of a difference? That's like the tour, somebody winning a 21-day stage race by 7
Yeah,
seconds,
right.
It's insane. It's
Well,
insane.
it yeah. And Michael's he's been pretty vocal. He's been on a bunch of teams and he said earlier in an interview that he's very excited to be back riding Giant, which is kind of cool. Those guys don't usually talk like that a lot of
Mhm.
times. And so he said, all my best results have come on top of a Giant. So I'm excited to get back on him again. And,
Yeah,
so he was like giving credit to the bike. So that's kind of cool as a sales guy trying to sell Giants. You always appreciate that.
yeah,
But yeah, and then also Jasper, I feel like he was such a beloved figure in the Tour Unchanged because he was dubbed Jasper the Disaster,
yeah.
and now the guy last year Tour he just wrecked shop on the whole field, and he's having success here in the spring. So he's a guy that I root for just because when you've been maligned like that and then you overcome it. I mean that's the stuff of movies.
Yeah.
So I'm always like pretty stoked when he wins. It's just this one, ah, man, Michael was right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. But
But
you, but fast forwarding though, you say, because let's face it, it is an amazing field of young talent, right?
yes,
Vanderpool,
yep,
um, Vindegar, uh, Tade. He's not so young
Hickok,
anymore, but Pidcock,
yeah,
Mads
Wout,
Pedersen,
yep,
right?
yep,
But okay, this is different, but Pogacar just keeps coming out on top. So how does every, okay, he got beat here, but how do you how do you beat him?
Well, I mean, you could say Vanderpool comes out on top all the time too, because Vanderpool has
Yeah,
been rattling off wins left and right too.
yeah.
Um,
So
but yeah, I don't know what I mean, that we saw Jumbo Visma. I mean, you beat him with a great team
yeah,
and 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 a and a great individual rider in Vinegar, you know.
yeah.
And what will that formula work again this year? I don't know. I just saw that Pagasha he's heading up to the mountains to train for Liège-Bastogne-Liège and the Giro.
Hmm.
So that would be amazing if the guy wins, if he's able to pull off a win in the Giro and a win at the Tour.
Yeah,
Uh, some teams don't want you to go do both, they send alternate teams.
right.
Um, yeah, but I'm a
Well, I
fan
think
of the
what,
of the guy, just everything, his
yeah,
approach to the whole sport has just been great. And I feel like I could say that about so many of these guys. They're just guys that are easy to root for. And I don't know, can you think of
so
a villain?
young.
Who's the villain?
Oh, there's a couple cranky SOBs out there. I'm not, but not in the young talent though. There definitely, come on. There's definitely some. They're escaping me, but there are definitely some prima donnas out there. But it doesn't seem like the young guys are that way. It doesn't seem. The only one guy that seems a little guarded is Vindegaard. He doesn't say too much, right? And he's
Right.
not as animated as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Um, and you can just see that in some of the interviews. He's just kind of like, "Yep, that's the way it is," type thing. Um, but the other guys, I don't know that is there a dick in the group? I can't think of one.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Vinegar's, I've said this before. I just think he's a class act. We saw in the Tour when he waited for Pagasha after Pagasha had that little mishap and even
Yeah,
reached out, shook his hand mid-race and almost crashed because of it.
yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know. I think he's solid. Vanderpool is a guy I'm always rooting for.
So
Uh
talk about your Michael Jordan rule.
oh yeah. So there was, I forget who it was. I think it was Velo. It was some Instagram. They were equating this last the loss at Gent I never can say the
Welcome. Get welcome. Yeah.
yeah, okay, like you said.
I
Uh
just mumble through. I mumble through
yeah,
the second
well,
thing because I I was watching the replay yesterday. My wife said, "What race is this?" And I thought it came out pretty well until one of the announcers said it. And I go, "Oh no, I don't even have it
yeah,
close."
I could never get it right. Uh
Yeah,
but it's like so Vanderpool gets beat in the final sprint. And then they suggested that maybe there's a new set of Vanderpool rules, and they equated it to like the Jordan rules of the NBA back in the day when Michael Jordan was trying to come up and win championships. He kept running into the Detroit Pistons, and they had this. They called it the Jordan rules. Whenever Jordan touched the ball, they were just going to hammer him, and foul him hard and just get him angry and in his head and try to just take him off his game. And with Vanderpool, I didn't read all the way through it, so there was a link, and I didn't get that far. I had work, but the the thing with Vanderpool, I think the way that I could kind of understand what they were saying because Vanderpool is a workhorse, and like
yeah,
he'll just ride off the front and just be like, "Hey, hang on if you can." Where
yeah,
it's impressive and it's awesome, but it's strategically, it's not necessarily the best strategy. And you
right,
see, like it was a few years back when Sonny Cabrelli nipped him in the Paris-Roubaix, where uh Vanderpool did all the work. I don't know how many K it was. It was a long time. He's off the front by himself, and there were two other riders, Cabrelli, and I forget the third rider. That's too bad because that's a good rider also, like a top level. but I can't remember who it was exactly. But the three of them, and Vanderpool just kept giving him the elbow, like, "Hey, come on around, guys! Come on around, guys!" He was trying to let somebody come around, and nobody, they just wouldn't do it. And so he continued to lead. Like, I think in that moment, obviously it's easy to second guess. You're sitting on your couch, but in that
Right.
moment, maybe you could just let off altogether. Just be like, okay, this game we're going to play,
Yeah.
I'm not going to carry you guys all the way to the finish line. That's not,
Right.
and then pull in behind and let them go. Maybe they attack at that point and you got to bridge and get them. But then now you're in the back seat as opposed to
Right.
being towing everybody. So,
Right.
but I think, the way to get Vanderpool, if there is a way to get him, is just let him do all that work and then just
Yeah.
get him in a sprint at the end because he's going to burn more matches. But
Yeah.
even then, I feel like he's still got a legit shot of winning.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and that may be it. Again, I'm stretching. I saw the headline. I didn't read the article,
Yeah.
but I'm stretching a little bit. But I think that maybe that's going to be the way that you beat Pogacar. You said it earlier. You have a team, right? And
Yep.
like they did a couple years ago, they sort of ganged up on him. I think he was young and eager, so he took every bait, right? Every time they baited him, he went, and there was just three against one. And maybe that's just what you got to do. You've got to ride a different race,
Yeah.
uh, and not just assume that one guy is gonna beat him. So yeah, maybe
Exactly.
it's changing the sport, changing the
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
So
And I don't know if you're watching any of the woman stuff. Man,
it's
the
always
woman
so
stuff
good.
has been so good. And there's a bunch that are like these names that I'm not familiar with. Elisa Balsamo and
Yeah. Oh
Lorena
yeah.
Wiebes. She just won the gent. They had a big sprint finish, and again, it was like a couple inches at the line. And yeah, it's
There's
the
there's
women's.
another example of and I don't know if it's maybe a sexist thing, but there's another, like, if you watch one of those races, I mean, it is like when they start attacking each other, it's just like boom, 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 right? And they
Yep.
get to the finish line, and then they're all hugging each other and high fiving each other. So what is it? Armstrong turn around and say that they're not tough. That's
Right.
that's bullshit. It's because that is aggressive, aggressive, aggressive riding when you
Oh
watch a
yeah.
women's version.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think when you're a maligned group, for whatever reason, the women's cycling, until just recently, I'd say the last 4 or 5 years, it's never really gotten the attention that it deserves. And now that it is, I feel like the sport's really blossoming, and you're
Yeah,
seeing it's not just one, Cassia. These names are really hard.
yeah,
I'm
I know.
terrible at
There's
enunciation,
not
but
a well, yeah, there's
Kopecky
not.
or
Yeah,
Kopecky. It's not just those two, there's all kinds of other dominant women. Mariana Voss, obviously still relevant
yeah,
after all these years. And
yeah.
that's something that's kind of a shame because she's the GOAT. I mean, it's
Right,
incredible,
and
her career, and
yeah, yeah,
largely
unnoticed.
unnoticed. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just kind of
yeah,
crazy. But anyway, so it's cool to see them getting their run. And I don't I heard I so I didn't know this, but I was talking to Remy this morning, and he was telling me that HBO Max is showing all the races.
If you got so okay, so that was a star find for me, which is if you have do you, if you have Prime Video, included in your Prime Video will be Paramount, HBO Max, and something else. And you go into HBO Max, and I think it's called BR Sports or something. But the bottom line is, yeah, like I'm watching it. I think I tuned into it was totally by accident. I go, oh, was looking for something to pass the time on the trainer, and I found some series, and I said, okay, great, I'm going to watch this. And in the process, I stumble upon cycling on HBO Max. I'm like, who would have thought?
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
So,
and as part of, if you got video, Prime Video, it's included.
okay. So
So,
there we go.
which is
So,
good because GCN is gone.
yeah, but you can still
And
get the clips. You can still get the clips on YouTube. And that's how I've been kind of keeping
I
up on
know,
it. But
I
yeah, it'd
know,
be
but I
cool to
did
be able to, settle in on something.
because
Um,
I'm a little down on, I'm in an argument right now with, well, I've sort of got to eat my words because I have flow bikes too. And they have so many races on there, and I get all excited. And I go click on it, it says not available in your area, only in Canada. So I'm like, I finally, and it's so many of them.
yeah,
So finally I go, F you. I told them, I said, I want to cancel. And they said, oh, we don't want you to cancel because we'll give you 20%. I go, it's not worth it,
right.
right? Just
Yeah.
give me a
Why
list
would you not want to show it in America?
yeah,
Right.
and
It's a
he claimed
huge market.
it was their licensing thing and all that. So I'm in
Yep.
the middle of this exchange with them, and I'm waiting for their response. And I log in the other day, and they've got get welcome. So I'm like, oh, okay, shut up, Dave.
Well, that's
Like,
cool.
oh, hi. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can
Oh,
watch it on that. But
who we kind of didn't talk about, who's back on the World Tour stage. Another great guy, by all accounts, is Egan Bernal. And after
so
what he went through and the comeback and everything, it's just so great to see him, being relevant in the World Tour stage. We'll see what will
so
happen in the tour, but he looked good in
yeah,
that Catalonia or whatever how there is
yeah.
to say that.
So no. I was actually gonna bring that up. I actually wrote it down. Yeah, Volta Catalonia. So
Catalonia,
I
thank you.
think, yeah. But yeah, so the race before that too, who was calling? It was Bob Roll. It may have
Uh,
actually been the Tour Down Under.
okay.
And they were like, he's showing signs of his old self, and it was really encouraging to watch. It was really encouraging to watch. And then I followed. Oh no, and now I'm following this. I'm only on a couple stages in, but you can see he's always with the lead group and he's always there. And he's even attacking at times.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I mean, the race is over. He took third.
Yeah.
It was Pogacar. I mentioned it before. Sidal Quick Step guy. He used to be with Ineos. Calanda.
Oh, Mikel Landa.
Right?
Yeah.
Took
Yep.
Sanda, took second, and then Bernal's third. Now he
Yeah.
was probably a distant third behind Gotcha, but it meant that he was ahead of Garrett Thomas. He was ahead of Sepp Kuss. He was ahead of a bunch of guys Martinez, some classy climbers.
Well, that could really
So
change everything in the tour. If he's back to full
yeah,
strength, I mean,
yeah,
he was a contender
yeah.
I mean,
And he's still got, I mean, we're
yeah,
only in March, so he's got plenty of time to if his form is he's coming into form now.
right.
Um,
What an
yeah, so
incredible
that's
story
it.
that would be if he was to come back and really, because he was really injured after that crash. And
Oh, he's lucky
yeah,
to be alive.
right.
And let's modify expectations, right? Like
Yep.
it'd be awesome if he comes back, he gets a top 10.
Yeah.
We could say, oh, go ahead and win it, but look at it. We got Pogacar, we got Vingegaard, so you have to wonder. But if this
Yeah.
guy comes in and climbs anywhere in the near the top 10, you got to say he's back,
Right.
right?
For
He's a
sure.
force.
For
He's a
sure.
force. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
kind of cool. So it's really cool to see that happen.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. He's one of those guys you pull for. Even, yeah. Yeah.
so the other question I have now is, what's the deal on Cav? They say he's sick. He hasn't been.
Yeah.
He won that one sprint,
Yep.
and everything was like, oh, the man is back. And
Right.
then he's hasn't done well in anything else, and they say he's sick.
Yeah. I wonder what's going on there.
I don't
You
know. I
know,
got to dig
I
into it a
haven't
little
read any
bit.
details about it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
So
it's a marathon to make it to the tour,
I
you
know,
know?
and that's the thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's sick," but I mean, a guy like that, he's got plenty of time to get into shape. But it
Right.
just, come on, what's one win? That's all I wanted to, I'm pulling for the guy.
Right. Yeah, for
So,
sure. But there is
but
part of me still that it's kind of bitching that Eddie Merckx still has the record, you know,
yeah,
because Eddie was an everything cyclist. He did it all. He wasn't just a special. No, I don't want to say just a specialist. He wasn't a
yeah,
specialist, so
right.
but that was a long time ago. And the athletes
The
historically over
world is
time, they
different.
don't hold up. They're not.
Yeah,
The guys on the bike now are just, I mean, the power numbers, everything is just wild what these guys are doing on these bikes,
yeah,
So
yeah. No question, no
yeah.
question.
But
So
I wonder about Liddell
crazy
Trek
shit.
too. Are they going to be? They've got some hitters on that team, and you wonder if they're going to be able to contend in the tour. You know, um, yeah, it's going to
Yeah,
be every year. I get so geeked up. It's just like I just feel like there's just more and more people rising in the peloton, and there's just yeah, I mean, even with the last few years when it's in Pagasha and Vinegar, it's still super exciting. Uh, yeah, but you wonder if
what do you
anybody's going
think
to be able
of?
to knock them off.
What do you think of? I mean, because Roglic hasn't. w-
Yeah.
Wasn't what race was I watching him in? And he wasn't all that. He wasn't a dominant force, right?
Yes.
He was getting drops. I don't know. Is it early in the season? Is it he doesn't have the team around him? I don't
Right.
know. Again, I'm not rooting against him. I just wasn't all that impressed with when you're so on when you're accustomed to seeing him drop others and then he's not. It's kind of like that's interesting. He's getting dropped, you
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So who knows?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's always fun this time of year to just
this time of year,
take a look at the different team structures, who's where, and what they're doing, how the team's coming together.
yeah.
Yeah, very good stuff.
But I will say that, and we should wrap pretty soon. But
Yeah.
uh, I've made this leap this last couple of years, and it's old news. But I love the tour. I love the tour. I'm gonna watch every stage. I'm not just gonna watch the highlight 30-minute clip. I'm gonna watch the whole fucking thing over
Yeah.
and over again. This is honestly the most exciting time of the year. These classics
Yeah.
and that's why I was getting so mad is if one of them isn't on and I can't see it, I'm out of my mind. I'm out of my mind. I
All
just like
right.
so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot more time in your hands than I do. So,
I'm back working now. I'm back subbing. I'm back subbing. So
all
I had
right.
to rush home. So yeah, it was not so I am gainfully employed
All
for
right.
now.
Yeah. So that
So
might affect
yeah, we gotta I
our
know we got a couple
scheduling.
guests scheduled. Padavana's ready to pinch hit for me until I can figure something out.
Yeah.
Or we can
Yeah.
figure something out.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well,
Hey, before we go, I did want to give a plug. Our friend Jeff Linosky, you
yes.
know,
Yep.
so he had done these camps out in Arizona. We talked about a Trail Boss Academy,
Yep.
but just as I do with Phil and Dara when I go through and look and find out information about our sponsors. I mean, he really goes, and I'll listeners go to Trail Boss Academy on YouTube. He's got amazing shit. I mean, there's videos of him riding stuff and doing stuff on bikes that you just wonder how does this guy do it?
Yeah.
But then he's got some great tips, do's and don'ts. So
Yep.
anyone that wants that crash, I mean, I'm biased because we know him and we've broken bread with Jeff and all that, but he's definitely is a good explainer of things, and he's a good lesson. And Trail Boss Academy on YouTube is a great, great thing. So I
Yeah.
encourage our listeners to go there.
He's a great teacher. I mean, the um, no matter how accomplished you feel like you are on a mountain bike, you can learn something from Jeff. And he's got a unique skill, the skill set of trials riding, which is not even really much of a thing any longer, like it was in the early days of mountain biking.
Yeah,
And a lot of those skill sets, aren't learned because you're not doing those types of things when you're getting into mountain biking anymore. You just
right,
get
right.
get a bike and get on a trail and start bombing around. But learning how to bounce and how to jump,
Get up over a
from
rock.
over a rock or over a log or something, in a safe way, and things like that. And then you mix all that with the trail skills. Yeah, he's got a huge tool
And
bag, and
think about riding skinnies when he does when he
yeah,
rides down these little skinny things. How many trails have you come across that you're like, holy shit, right? This is,
yeah,
don't look down, don't look here. There you go.
yeah.
So
Yes.
whatever.
So yeah, check him out. Trail Boss Academy. It's a great website, great content, and he's a great guy.
Yeah,
Just straight
good,
up. Yeah, just a
good
great
dude.
dude. Yep. Had one of them. He has had a prolific career in the bike industry,
Yeah.
as an ambassador, rider, athlete, whatever. I mean, probably 25 plus years. I know he's with
Yeah.
Giant almost 20 years.
And he's
So
got a bitchin' van.
yeah, yeah. Van life. Him and
Yeah,
David
him and
Lieb.
yeah, I'm so
And
jealous.
Padavana. So yeah,
Yeah,
those are
yeah.
three of the better vans out there. But all right, well,
All right, man, I gotta go. I gotta go cook dinner. It's tax season and Sue's getting home late, so I've been very domesticated.
nice. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks, Dave. Appreciate you,
Yeah,
man.
good chatting with you.
And
That was a great
yep,
story about
likewise.
Hawaii. That's pretty awesome.
I'm gonna take another run at it. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I can get one of those tents. Sleep in a
Yeah,
tent for a week before I head up there or something. I
yeah,
don't know.
and
Yeah.
and and just plan ahead and get better gearing. It sounds like that's a must.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. All right. Well,
All right,
thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to Trail Boss Academy, and we'll talk to you next week.
thanks everybody. Love you
Thanks all.
guys.
Yep.
Peace.
Appreciate it.
Done.